it's your main man, Anthony Brogdon, on the 1 and 2. And I got a smooth guy on the channel today. He is well thought of out of his community. Oh man, people really recognize and respect this brother. And check it out, everybody. He one of them PhDs, man. He wrote that paper. Man, his paper was so tight they didn't even have to read it. They looked at the first paragraph and said, "Come on this side of town. Come on, get your doctor." And I'm pretty sure he is a man of the cloth. Watch out now. So we're gonna have some religious components on you with this history that we're talking about, and influencing and influxing the Lord Almighty in this exchange. I'm gonna do my best to ask some intelligent questions, and we're gonna get it on here at Strong Inspirations, where I give it to you straight, no chasing. My aim, and I say this in a good way, is to intoxicate your mind through the people that come on this show, to have you staggering when you watch this. Mind-blowing stuff, because it's people like this gentleman that come on here so that you are a better person after this hour or so of discussion. And so hit the subscribe button. It's free. I don't ask no questions. Hit the like button, because you're going to really like this. This good-looking guy, too, he on the point. We're going to be there with you, my friends. So you're going to dig this. And then check it out. Hit the notifications bell, because I'm putting up videos, 1 or 2 each week. I got a lot going on my own front. Otherwise, as you might know, my friends, I have developed and produced this movie. It's a documentary called Business in the Black. This is really kind of where it all began for my quest to, as I learned about slaves who own businesses, to be able to disseminate that information to you, all my people, because some of you don't know, like I did not know. They didn't tell me that in class. That would have blew my mind. I heard of the Frederick Douglasses and the Ida B. Wells and Booker T. Washington and Malcolm X and Dr. King, so on and so on. But I didn't know of nobody like Frank McWhorter, Julius Groves, Elizabeth Keckley, Hannah Elias, Mary Ellen Pleasant. I didn't know them names, and them was rich folks back in the day. And so I chronicle them in my documentary, which is streaming on Amazon. And then, man, check it out, everybody. I'm one of them kind of guys. I take it to the next level, and I wrote a book on it. And the book is more thorough than the documentary. This book is good. In my estimation, and I wasn't the first to say this, it is America's #1 Black business history book, because there is no other book that is as thorough and easy to read. I list 28 slave-owned businesses. I tell you how they got into business, what they did, how wealthy they became, how they used the money to buy their freedom. And I tell you how slaves gained an education. And then I named those, some of them, not all of them, that went to college, and tell you where they went. Get you a copy of Black Business Book, my friends. Do it today, and check it out. I don't charge a lot for this, because I want the masses of people to get this. I don't want it to be a hesitation talking about I ain't got $20, because it ain't, it's less than that, all right? And, how about this one? Every 10th book I sell, I donate one to a school. Because if the teachers don't know, then how are they going to teach the students what's in that book? So it's on Amazon and my website, businessintheblack.net. Couple more things, housekeeping, my man. I don't mean to hold him up, but I got to tell you, I'm doing a movie from this book. It will be out in the next 2-3 months. It's titled They Did It, where I feature 12 rich Black people that are in my book. I'm doing a children's book based on the book. All that is happening out of my sphere of influence, little old me, ordinary guy, and it's on the website, businessintheblack.net. Now, you hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. I just like it. Strong is good in my book, and strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to the strong man coming on the show right now. Come on, cool brother. Religious man, Christian man. Tell us your name. Thank you for being on Strong Inspirations.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Brogdon. And first of all, I'm humbled. And first of all, I'm amazed that you just asked me to spend a little time with you.
Thank you.
And so I'm relegated to a greater sense of humility. And I hope and pray that we can get out to our objective today. I'm glad for the audience who will be tuning in and be watching and listening. And hopefully and prayerfully, we can move the needle a little further down the road in our
That's
growth
right.
and imagination. I am Dr. Tony Drayton. I am a lead pastor, senior pastor for about 30 years now, and an organizer with the greatest group that we can have, Faith in Florida, under the leadership of Rhonda Thomas, our executive director. And what we do in that capacity, we organize, we're a nonpartisan group, organized across colored lines, racial lines, religious lines, to bring a sense of power and equality, financially, spiritually, issues that we deal with, when multiple, over 39 counties and multiple churches, and we just take an interest in listening to people, building power, and we specialize in moving people to the ballot to have a voice. You get them to vote. But now we're in a space now where we're bringing a keen perspective to Black facts, Black history, our history.
Yes.
That's trying to be retarded and trying to be suppressed.
Yes.
And trying to be put in the archives of forgetfulness.
Yes.
Never to be revived no more.
Okay, so let me stop you right there. I mean, no disrespect, but I got to do this with you, my friend. And I do it with all the guests. I want my people to get to know you a little bit more. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in a little town called Stewart, Florida. Okay. High school was 30 miles away, one direction. I was educated at that high school. I was born in Stewart, but I grew up in a migrant town with no traffic lights. It was about 8 streets called Indian Town, very migrant. And it was a forgotten town.
Okay, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there. What does migrant mean? What do you mean by that? This.
Well, we had a lot of Guatemalans, a lot of Hispanic people, a lot of Cuban people, and African people, Black people, and a railroad track divided us from the other folks of town. And because of the name, when people begin to immigrate, that town, Indian Town, grew a lot of Hispanic people by the name itself, Indian Town.
Okay.
So there's association there. And I remember when it began to grow like beyond leaps and bounds.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, we were like moved out of there. My parents still live in Indian Town. We didn't get our first traffic light. It's only one traffic light now. We got our first traffic light in 1978, 1980.
Ooh, we're going to talk about that. I'm a big city man. I don't know nothing about that kind of thing. Let me ask you this. How did your folks get there? Where's the slavery at in your family? Do you know that part?
The slavery comes from my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother. Originally, my dad is from Trinidad. My grandmother, basically, we traced our roots through Bahamas. Okay. So there's a mixture of those two cultures there.
Okay.
Did you have a product like me who's confused?
Yeah, okay. Okay.
But yes. And we got there because back in the day, I just asked my mother, how did we land in Indian Town? And how did we remain in there? And she said there was this white gentleman that she used to work for, my grandmother used to work for, who had some kind of favor with them. And he used to travel from Miami to Indian Town, which is in Martin County. and he had property. And he had to come up and take care of the property. Because back in the day, to get what my mother never had, I just couldn't understand how that, knowing history, how they
Yes.
could do
Yes.
what happened. And
Yes.
she said, he told my dad one day, he said, I'm tired of driving back and forth. I have a block of land over here in Indian Town. Said, I'm getting old. He said, do you think you want to buy it? And my mother's mother said, yes, we'll buy it, but we can't afford it. And he said, don't worry about affording it. Just I'll keep it for you. You pay me whatever you want to pay. And then when you pay, when we agreed to pay, I'll release it to you. He
Okay.
kept his word. He kept his word.
Okay.
And that's how we got there. Because it just, knowing the history, I recently asked my mother, I said, Mom, for what you have now and your sister, your twin sister, your brother, it's a block of town that my family grew up on. How did it happen that you're in proximity to each other and it's like a block that's separated? And she said, it had to be the favor of God because we could not afford it. And somebody told us something and they kept their word.
Oh my God. Let me ask you that. So now, you said school was like a half an hour away or something. How did you get to school? A bus picked you
They
up at
bust
the
us.
end of the.
They bust us 25 miles one way. I did it all of my life. The second high school was built in Martin County called South Fork when I was in college. For all that time, you had one way bus to school, 25 miles there, 25 miles back, or you had to hitchhike, or your parents had other means to get your transportation to go back and forth.
When you was on that bus, did was and all I guess it was all the black kids, or were white kids on the bus too?
Predominantly black kids.
Did,
Predominantly
did
black
you
kids.
see white people looking at y'all? And could you reflect on what it might have been if you was black back in the slavery days or the early night, you know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
seeing them in whatever capacity they were in.
Indian Town was a unusual town. It was separated from the other little towns that made up the whole county. So we were behind time because I remember Indian Town, we had outhouses at
Wow.
that time still. And then we had double outhouses, like had two-seater outhouses back at that time. So even when other places were more modernized, are growing, Indian Town grew and changed at a very, very slow rate because it was forgotten. Remember, that was a migrant town. I picked the oranges. I cut the cucumbers. I did the watermelon. I picked the peppers. I picked the beans. All of that was a part of my culture growing up.
Well, is there cotton near there?
No cotton, no cotton in that, no cotton. It was a farm town. They had access
Okay.
to citrus and agriculture like that.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
and
let me ask you this.
the buses would actually come and take you there to the fields to work. And me being precocious, there as a child, I could work to Burger King and McDonald's and all those places. They didn't exist. And in my time, others had benefit to that, but because we were so isolated, we didn't have benefits to that. You had to actually falsify your age that you were 15 years old to catch one of those buses to go to the fields to try to make some money.
Okay. What about this? What about how did you play? What was playtime? And let me add more to the question. What time did you have to wake up in the morning? Because you got a half an hour bus ride. And then what did you do on a Saturday? Did you have to go in the fields, or when it was harvest time, you couldn't go to school? What was that dynamic?
We had to wake up very early because by the time the bus picked up the kids, driving 25 miles, first of all, I was not the furthest point in Martin County. You had to go farther to pick up some more kids that live between two counties, Martin County and Okeechobee County. And then you had to leave from that point to drive back to the school, which added another 10 minutes to that drive. So you had to get up very early because school started like 8, 9 o'clock. You had to be in school. It was always dark. In the summertime, all you had, the culture you knew, was the culture of the black city called Booker Park, because there was a railroad track that separated the blacks and the whites. Okay, there. And so you was dying to get back to school. There was really nothing to do. So if you were of age, say 15, 14, 16, some of the field, they call them foremans, would allow, if you look the age, to catch a bus to try to bus you out to get some kind of work during the summertime. Okay.
You knew everybody in town.
Oh
So
yes. Oh yeah.
what was how did you get to do something different than what you knew with everybody else in town? Could you go someplace like the next town over? That's where they had a little more fun or something like that.
There was no going to the next town over because you had to walk to 25 miles. Oh, sorry about that. You had to walk to 25 miles. You couldn't. They're doing a test right here in Florida right now. You had to walk. So when you went to high school, if you got to know some of the students, some of the people who were in Stuart, Florida, you could get an idea what their lifestyle was about. But to get back and forth, they had to remember it's a poor town. You had to be really, really of a advanced status, if you will, to travel back and forth. So you were kind of like retarded and restricted to that little town there. But what happened, this is why I'm so much on academics. My father and my mother knew their history. They knew where they came from. My dad was one of the most intelligent person I've ever met. My mom was very intelligent, but they barely finished high school. But they wanted something. They knew that you remember, older than I, education was a pathway out of the, if you will, hood. I said respectively. Education was transformative at that time. And being gifted, as my brothers and I were, in sports, it doubled down on that. But my parents took chances on spending their resources on buying encyclopedias that we could read.
Oh, I love it.
Yes, I remember getting the first set of encyclopedia. It was red and white, and we couldn't wait. When the guy knocked on the door, white guy came, knocked on the door, and mom said, I want y'all to have what we didn't have. Dad said, hey, we're going to take the time. My mother's name was Lottie Mae. They give you an idea there. Yeah. Said, we're going to get this for the boys. Two brothers. I'm the oldest of four, and two brothers, and my sister is the youngest. And we couldn't wait until those encyclopedias came. Now, we were very, very young. And when they came in the summertime, we throw those books down on the floor. We like reading, we doing all of this here. And they took us around the world. So we fell in love with academics because they exposed us to them. We fell in love with our history. We fell in love with our identity. We fell in love with my dad explaining to us why we went down to the R&W root beer place. I think that's what it's called. I'm sitting in the side of the car and they passing us by. They won't serve us. They won't serve us. And I'm saying, Dad, something's wrong here. They keep going by us. They won't serve us. And my father and I wanted to get into it at that time. Of course, he took off. And we had a dialogue about it later on. And we knew that there was something different about our skin color, that we didn't have the same equity. We didn't seem to be equal with other folks. And it was a moment that I never would forget.
I remember. Did you think white people were better than you growing up? What was your take on white people?
I think they were different, but I didn't think they were better. I didn't think they were better. No, I knew they were different, but not better. My parents would not allow me to buy into that. He wouldn't go, this is different. But he told us, you have to be the best that you can be. And you have to be educated, learn the history, etc. So when I went to college, my mother, it never was a choice. I never had a choice on this. Yes, I did. No, I didn't. Not really. It was never a question of whether I was going to go. It was like where I was going to go. My next brother, it wasn't not whether or not he was going to go. It was where he was going to go attend. and so on down my family.
I
When I
love
was
it.
about, yeah, it
Yeah.
was a.
Okay, how about this one? Is there any racial strife in your community though that you know of? Did the white people, the police come in and abuse the black people? Did you ever see KKK? Any of that kind of thing?
Oh, I saw the KKK. I see the police brutality. Remember, I'm in a country, and they was burning the cross less than 5 miles from the house in Indiantown, because Indiantown is like a pocket, 8 streets. The next town to the east was that 25 miles to Stewart. To the west is 27 miles to Okeechobee. So you got all this land in the middle, this wooded land. So it was very natural for the KKK to go out down the road and have their little parties and do their little burnings not that far from my house.
You
Because
and you okay? I got a guy on my show. He tried to sneak in on one of them so that he
well,
could hear what they were saying. Did you ever try that or something like
I
that?
was invited to do it, but I was too scared to do it. Be honest with you, I was invited to do it, but I was too scared to do it because we knew the KKK had a real presence in Indiantown. It was conducive for that kind of behavior.
Okay. Did the other people did it? Did they make it? Did they get caught?
I don't know anyone in my circle that did it because what others were thinking about how dangerous it was, with law enforcement being out in a wooded country, far from other towns and cities, anything could have happened to you and nothing would have been done. Nothing would have been done whatsoever. And there was that healthy fear and phobia of trying to sneak in out there because law enforcement did not patrol that area. They didn't care what happened in those wooded areas. The next town, either way, was 20, 25 miles away.
I got you. What would they meet? What would they meet about? What they were going to do? What what? You didn't attend, but what was their meetings over?
A lot.
Can you imagine?
Uh, Keeping their power structure, not letting person who didn't look like them. White supremacy was real. I didn't know the name nomenclature, but I knew that there was a difference. I didn't know the nomenclature, how to identify all of it until I got older, could put a voice to what was happening. I still remember going through first through second, third, fourth, fifth grade there, being in an all-black school. And the next year being an optional year for integration, and then after that, mandatory integration. I remember going across the railroad tracks, going to class, and the great divide between the white kids and the black kids. I remember going to the bathroom, being spit on and calling the N-word.
You did.
Yeah, yes. And I remember saying one time that if it wasn't milk, I didn't want anything white. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on. Now let me say this. And I maybe because I'm a northern guy and I don't know what I'm talking about. But if a white guy was to call me a nigga, I might look at him like, man, you don't know how much money I make. I might make more than you. You might be stupid. I'm a college graduate. So I'm just looking at him like you got nothing else to say. Was being called a nigga demeaning? Could you overlook that word?
No, but when the odds are stacked against you physically, like 5-1, you have to use some sense sometimes. You're not going to win that battle and get into something physical in a bathroom because you call it in a school. Doesn't make sense. The odds just weren't there.
Did
But
they
I
ever
can
put
tell
their
you
hands
this.
on you? Did they ever put their
Yeah,
hands on you?
no, they didn't. I walked out. But I never forgot that all the way through high school, through college. Never forgot that all of my life. That was impressed in my psyche that had happened. Never forgotten that. And
So okay, how about this one? I'm gonna take liberties here. Very smart guy. You read and everything. Did they ever try to do something to hold you back so that you couldn't be recognized for your achievements in school? Like I know we getting all A's, but we're gonna try to not give you A's. You want to be class big. You know what I'm saying? Did you ever face that?
yes, I did. One of the things, and now mind you, in my school, because of the time and because of what was happening, we had the race riots very early. We had the fights at the high school, black coaches getting fired. You knew it because he was black. They tried to suppress black children, kids, not wanting us to be in certain classes that were really put. And the only reason I can give voice to this now is because I had time to. Gershkin said in the clinicals, time and distance allows us to objectify our experiences. I'm able to objectify those experiences that I thought were normal experiences sometimes.
Yeah.
And one of those things was the retardation or the impediment of teaching Black history at the high school level. The Black history was false history. I remember sitting in the classroom, my first class in Black history. The first thing I see is enslaved people with chains around their neck.
That's right. That's all I saw.
Enslaved ladies with their bodies showing, and because of the intellectual capacity that I had, I'm the only Black in the white classroom of 30 kids, and they're laughing, and giggling. And I'm not going to take too kindly. I didn't take too kindly to that. And so I went down one day. I had a problem with my scheduling. I went down to the counsel's office, and I asked, what's going on with my class? I don't seem to be getting any of our history. And he looked at my schedule. He go, who made your class schedule out? I told him the other counselor. He says, they have you on a track to go nowhere. You're not going to be prepared for college. You're not going to know any of your history. He said, no wonder you're disinterested in classes. You're not even on the level you're supposed to be with your classes. So my whole schedule had to be changed.
Is he a Black person or a white person?
The one who called it out was a Black person. The one who made the
really?
schedule was a white person.
Okay.
Yeah. And I am the one that really pushed to have Black facts, Black history taught at my high school. And then we had a guy, and they called him Mr. Weldon Brown, who began to teach the history properly, the way that it should be. And I remember, I don't know how the class got packed the way that it was, but if you didn't get in there early, you could get a seat. You had to be out. Classes was hanging all out the doors.
Wow,
That was my first. Yeah. I was like, whoa. And I said, well, this is it. Yeah.
Did you have a fight with white kids? Did you ever have a fight?
Oh, I have a lot of fights.
No kidding.
A lot of fights. But yeah, okay. I remember what got me going to college. I went to a small white college in North Carolina called Pfeiffer University outside of Charlotte. I went on a wrestling scholarship and an academic scholarship. And my past history, I tell my family, I tell the church, I tell people now, the history of growing up in a town like that, being alienated and dealing with what I dealt with, being the oldest. Dad's gonna say what? Watch out for your brothers and your sisters.
Right.
Y'all come together, stay together. And when he said that, I took it to heart.
Right.
So I learned how to do things that I thought at that time would kind of protect me, knowing that they would, realizing that they wouldn't. But in my mind, if I learned the reading, learned how to write, absorb the books, had a sports background in wrestling and martial arts and boxing, all of that, I could go further. And between those two, they did pay for my college. My other brother, between the two, he played ball at Southern Methodist University with the Pony Express. It paid for his college as well. My other brother, it paid. So it worked out that way.
I got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
we had to be in that mode.
Well, we on what I want to talk about. I ain't gonna lie to you. We're gonna get on a little bit more. When you had the fight, what happened? Do you remember any one of them that like you was at a wrestling match, you pinned the man down a little too hard, he started calling you names and stuff like that, and then it happens?
It happened. I got caught in I actually got caught in race riot at my high school. And I still talk about it now. And I tell that story that you always knew that you were different. You always knew that you were Black. You always knew that you were one word from being called the N-word.
Really?
Yes.
Every day?
Every day. Every day. Okay, I live in Palm Beach County now. In my SWOT analysis, Martin County is still behind a lot of other counties in race relations. Still behind. The county's still behind. Palm Beach would be a little further in its growth and development. Martin County. And my mother still lives in Indiantown. My sister still lives over there. My family still operate. Matter of fact, I'm going back to visit this weekend to see my mom.
Yeah. Sure.
They still have a restaurant in Indiantown. It's still called, and I say this with all humility, and I don't know what it actually means, but it does raise an issue called the Cracker Inn.
That's your parents'
No, in town.
in town. Okay, in town.
The restaurant is still called
Cracker Inn.
The Cracker Inn. Yes.
Well, let me. So, how mind blowing was it when you went to college and had to be around these? And it was still small school, but more people of different backgrounds and stuff like that.
Yeah, the school was NAIA, but I competed in D1 with D1 schools like Clemson and NC State and Chapel Hill, all those schools as well. But it was a culture shock. It was a culture shock. I had never been away from home. Did well in the context in which I had. Learned how to navigate the racial maze to survive. How to navigate the injurious acts and responses to survive. But yet going from Florida to North Carolina, away from home, never been on a plane. It was different. I had to adjust. And then getting up there, it took me 45 minutes before I was called the N-word. 45 minutes on campus, I was called the N-word. The first weekend, I got in a fight for being Black. So the adjustment continued. But I was determined that as long as I wanted to be there, my parents and the exposure, I was going to stay there and get my education, be trained, as long as I decided to stay there regardless.
Did you report any of that to the authorities?
Yes, that doesn't, sometimes, they're part of the system, part of that. And in college, you don't report everything. You try to navigate some things and you report that what you have to report. And of course, every place has its own campus security. Like that place did.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you report that. But one of the things that helped me out is that I befriended the person over the campus security. And he happened to be acceptable to the relationship, put it like that. So.
Wow, man. What about so now you grow up like this and now you beginning to see some world in your own way. You see, you're on an airplane. When you were younger, did y'all have Ebony and Jet to kind of give you some other than encyclopedia or TV to see rich Black people? Did you ever see that kind of thing? How did you know that there was more for you in life and whatnot?
Jet was it. The Jet was it. The Jet was a culture shock. Had to have the Jet. Jet magazine came in, it was like, wow, we got to get it, But my parents were like, be ferocious reader, study everything, do this. And then because of, I guess, I can't take any credit for this. I realized there was something that was in me that was there that had to be explored. I knew that I could tell injustice when I saw it. I could tell when people were being treated wrong. I just knew that it wasn't right. I didn't want to perpetuate that. I didn't want to be a part of that. So I wanted the exposure. I wanted to see how things really could be, how they were supposed to be even if it was an ideology. I just knew that some of the things that we were subjected to in the small town, I had witnessed being called the N-word, being overlooked, being spit at and spit on, getting in fights and all of that. It had that couldn't be the world in which I envisioned.
Okay,
Couldn't be
that
the
leads
world.
to this question: how do you deal with white people, given your background? Because I know you got to deal with them somewhere along your way, college and through the schools, whatever you did
Yeah.
for a career. How do you do
The
you
college
accept
was
them?
the college was a predominantly white college. The college
Do,
was a
do, do you
predominantly,
accept them now? Do you got any white friends? You know what I'm saying?
yes, I do. Because I learned that Mr. Anthony, that sometimes you can have an alt against the institution and not the persons of the people, although people make it up. Like I tell people, there's some institution I have an alt against. I just don't like. But then some of my closest friends are in that institution, in those institutions. And they don't necessarily have the same behavior as that institution exhibit most of the time. Like, let me be real hard. And I hesitate to say this because a lot of folks don't understand this. Like the institutional law enforcement, I think that it can be very corrupt. It can be power over. It can be very inequitable in its practices, regardless of what their policies are. But then again, my best friend from college, he's Jewish and he's a police chief. You see what I'm saying? I got
Yeah.
others that I found in there that would run to my aid and they try to deliberate the dissemination of their duties in an equitable way. But yet sometimes the policies and stuff retards them for doing certain things. So I'll say that most of the institution I may have an issue with, but I still find individuals in those
I love that.
institutions.
I love that.
It's like preaching. All
Yeah.
preachers bad. Well, I'm a preacher. I'm getting bad, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
All preachers
Right.
are crook. You know, all attorneys, no.
Yeah.
That's not true. When you say all,
Yes.
we
Yes. I
mess up.
I
Yeah.
I, I can live with that.
You can say
So
far too many
yeah. Right.
of
Right.
many are.
Yeah.
If it's one that's exhibiting racist behavior, that's too
Right.
many.
Yeah, right. No, no, I can live with that. How about this? Now, I might be wrong in this, but it seems like when I've gone down south to some southern areas, the white folks try to be more amenable. Is that now the new dynamic? And some of them, they'll yes sir you when they never would before. Some of them, is that more? Have you noticed that? Even in today's climate? What's their attitude towards us now? And we can't say a blanket statement, but
Yeah,
yeah,
right, right. I appreciate that. Appreciate a great question. I think that when you come to South Florida, I say South Florida, Miami, South Beach, other places like that, Lauderdale, that we're unique. Tell you why we're unique. You can call it I call it a salad bowl syndrome if you want to. Well, with a mixture of a lot of folks here, different nationalities and etc. So we may not be a paradigm of what's normalcy at this time for where we live because we're right near the water. And when people migrate in or come in, they usually settle and begin to migrate, like the diaspora out a little later on. So you'll find when persons come to South Florida, they may not go too far. So you're going to get a different climate with the blending of that salad bowl motif that's here in South Florida. But I do think that a lot of things we deal with, they're hidden, they're masked sometimes. That power over white supremacy, they're masked. The Proud Boys, replacing the KKK, for example, it's still here. But I think that many times that it's put it like Jeremy Tisby said in what's his book called? In he calls it doesn't go anywhere. It just adapts. It adapts into the mainstream. It
because like
adapts.
was DeSantis, and excuse me for naming me, but I did already. Too late. Was he always this way? Because this is not his first term.
I, there's something that has emboldened him for some reason to get more concrete, adamant about his belief. And exactly what is fueling that, I'll be speculative, but he's a
Yeah.
person who doesn't back off. He wants something, he believes in it, and he sees it out to the end, and then it comes to fruition. Yeah, and what is giving him the fuel to do that? I could say I can't be blanket about it, but I can see the culture in which we living in. I could see perhaps it could be something like power over. It could
Yeah,
be white supremacy. It could
yeah,
be things. Oh, it could be a common. I don't think it's one individual.
yeah. I got
It's a
you.
compilation of the culture and things that are happening. And yet everything I named, I'm sure at some level is an aspect of what's happening.
What do and you with all your background, what do white people want from us? What do they want us to do? They want us to leave America? Do they want us to just stay in a corner and take whatever they give us? I'm wondering because it's always us that is the issue in many respects.
If we look at, let's take the time when King and Malcolm, and even before that, I learned that to the civil rights movement, I may be wrong, I humbly suggest, there's basically several responses, but the main two dominant one is being a separatist and being a nationalist. Okay. And you know that in King and Martin, sometimes they debated that, and West and others like that debated. Marcus Garvey debated repatriation, all of that. But that's what two of the prominent responses was one of the being a separatist or nationalist. And I believe looking at another culture, another dynamic it is, and when we look at now the issues that we're dealing with, first of all, it's like in layman's term, let's talk layman's term for y'all academic stuff. It ain't our country, not y'all country. Y'all brought over here. Forget the 1619 project. Forget all that stuff, 1690, all of that stuff that happened, all the wars that went on. This is our country, and we're saying, in multiple ways, we saying in dog whistle language, we want it back. We don't want you here. A lot of
Wow.
that language is dog whistle. You know that. The
Yes, that's
dog
right.
whistle. I blow the whistle. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We're moving along here just a tad. A few more. As a man of the cloth of minister, if you could imagine you were a minister during slavery, what would be your sermon on a Sunday?
Ooh, let's walk this thing back. Walk it back. I'm calling on Gayru Wilmore now, the great work that he did called Black Religion and Black Radicalism. Okay? Black Religion and Black Radicalism. Something that when I was in my training, I didn't want to absorb because it was too long and I had to really absorb it, had to
Right.
become a part of it. You have to. That's a good question, but a difficult question. How much? What level of agitation that I want to stir up? How much of a voice would I want to give to that, knowing that I lived in imminent danger?
That's right. I'll go. Yep.
Okay,
That's
see what I'm
right. That's
saying?
right. Yeah. That's
Living
right.
in imminent danger. It's a tough question. I would hope that I could be true to my calling, true to myself, true to my people, and true to being a humanitarian. Something is just humanly wrong. That's all. Inhumane. And I would hope that I could be true to it. But that's a tough question
Because
because
like
people put their
Matt,
lives.
Matt Turner was a minister.
That's who comes to mind. The
He was a
hieroglyphic.
minister, so he had to go out there and say, "Lord, I can't take this no more. Lord, I figure that this is a way to stop this, and I'm just guessing at it. And Lord, forgive me for what I'm about to do, but they do it to me."
That's basically the Nat Turner syndrome. What he did. That's basically what he did. The cost of his life. But you had to count the cost. I was look, and I don't say I can't say I can only imagine in the best way I would like to my action to have been, but knowing that I have to count the cost. My life is on the line when I'm doing that.
That's right.
See what I'm saying? And you know when he did that, that's what caused his demise.
Yeah,
But
that's
yet
true.
you ask a great question here. In my lane now, as I look at being in ministry, and I ask myself, what's the response of the Black church? What's the response of the Black clergy person? Not only that, what's the response, first of all, of the church? Because if it wasn't for racism and oppression, there'd be no need for the Black church. The Black church was born out of pain, out of lament, out of suffering. Okay? Because the God of the oppressed cannot be the God of the oppressors. Can't be. That's oxymoronic. The God of the oppressed cannot be the God of the oppressors. So something had to be birthed consistent to that belief, those beliefs. And so I'm one of the clergies that think that if I stand up and talk to my people, I have to find, for me, my context. In that sacred text, and you don't have to look very far, something that gives my identity in the Imago Dei, the way God intended it to be. And that's the first level there. And if it wasn't for these atrocities, there'll be no need for faith in Florida. There'll be no need, Pastor Thomas, and the Black history thing, be no need for just having this dialogue. But our issues and things that we're dealing with is birthed out of these atrocities. It's birthed out of racism.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I'll say continually,
Okay.
if it were not for the things that we're talking about, they could just be the church, not the Black church, not the white church, not this
Okay.
church, but the church.
Okay, because I gotta put you on the line on this one. It just came up. Somebody comes to you today, tomorrow after service on Sunday, and you preached a good service, and they come to you and say, "Hey, man, let me tell you something. I got a problem with this white guy. He and the police. I've called them. They not doing nothing. What could you tell them? You know what I'm saying? Could you say, okay, well, I understand, or take it matters in your own hand? And which relates to what I just asked you. What could you know? How can you turn the other cheek so often?
First of all, great question. First of all, I'll ask about the legal aspects. Anything been broken, any violation, anything like that. Because the law can make you love me, but when it's acted as it should be, it can perhaps sometimes stop you from putting a rope around my neck. Sometimes, not all the time. Okay, as King said with that. But that's what I'll try to do first. What method have you tried? Because if you're going to try to take matters into your own hands, then you have to realize that you're bringing something to the table that may not work out for you. You got a wife, you got a family, you got a structure that you're involved in. So I would ask, okay, find out what it is, then find out what can be done. Let's follow the legal challenge to it as best as we can. Now, there is a time where I believe your counter narrative is woven as you understand the other narrative. Okay, you got to understand the other narrative before you can weave a counter narrative as to what's happening. But I do believe in following that process out, because it may not work out the way that you think it's going to work out if you're taking matters into your own hands, and it may not work out if you report the matter as you should.
Right.
My counsel will always be to that.
Right.
Now, I'm not against, like Black Lives Matters, okay?
Right.
At first, many people I had to really understand Black Lives Matters. And for me, as a clergy person, going to my daughters who are millennials, okay, they helped me to say, to daddy, find out about it, form a language about it, find out something about it. And I'm still wrapping and weaving a narrative around it. I just told a pastor the other day, I said, the cry of Black Lives Matter is a lament. It's a lament of hurt as we assert that we too are made in the image of God as
Yeah,
people.
right. That's right. That's right.
And it's a lament that we weep with those who are weeping, that we hurt with those who are hurting, and it's a prophetic lament. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That we engage in, like the lamentation of Jeremiah.
Yeah.
We lamented with those, and yet it's still we see the value in us.
Yeah.
As we lament, as we
I got you.
So
Let me ask you this: we almost coming to a close here. When you and you can speak it from the church standpoint and also your work in faith in Florida. Has a white person ever come to you and apologized? You know, that's all the question is.
Sometimes yes they have, but they will faith in Florida gives persons who are interested a opportunity to organize, to be anti-racist, be anti-white Christian nationalist. So it gives us an opportunity to organize our community from a healthy perspective. And our goal is we move under Pastor Rhonda Thomas, Executive Director, we move into a beloved community, understanding that how it looks. Dialogues like we're having, it gives me a chance to reflect, to see, am I doing what the necessities to bring about or promote a beloved community where there's equality, where there's an egalitarianism in everything that we do, etc. But faith in Florida is a place, it's a movement that you will find persons, and not all persons are anti-Black, all persons are racist. Persons have come to me and say, you know, I have to say this here. We have perpetrated a great injustice upon Black people. Yes. Now, their sincerity, those with me, I believe they've been sincere. Now the question becomes, what do you want to do about it? What can we do about this here? Okay. Repatriation. Yeah. And it just say, when I talk about repatriation, that you're not paying me back for something that you don't owe me. Yeah, it has it can have a financial responsibility to it too. We built this city, we built this country. Mm-hmm. So you talk to me about they paying us back. Yeah, you will never be able to pay us back what we give them. You can't do that. We've given so much of this country as people of color. Yeah, you build it on our backs. Capitalism undeveloped Black America. It's just a fact. Okay, even the infrastructure. So when I hear people saying that, I say, you know what? You may not can pay us back. I'll accept your apology as an individual. Here it is. Okay. You may not represent the entire institutional slavery, but for you to say that.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, they keep coming. One to two more. What is your success? What's a successful day for you? And I know, understandably, at the church you can cite that one, and also in Faith in Florida. Or as an individual, what is your success?
I always introduce myself, Mr. Anthony, first as a clergy person, and I always do that first, and lead pastor who is an organizer with Faith in Florida. I do it intentionally because I do believe in the clay of ministry. So I do believe in that. I do believe that God give leaders after his own heart, etc. Yada, yada, yada. But for me, a successful day is that one of my primary times is building relationships with people, visiting people, dealing with people in all walks of life, in their relationship with each other and with me. And when I can bring something across the pulpit, bring something prophetically that teaches liberation that teaches humanity, that shows dignity, help to build and to formulate spiritual formation and identity from a holistic perspective where no one is excluded, okay? Where it is a beloved community, and someone says, I get it, not only academically, but that has to be lived out on the pavement. And at the pavement, and when it reaches the pavement, that's success. Organizing allows that to happen, getting people, and also to get changes, to promote what we're saying through legislative bills and things like that, to the voting poll, being a part of it, being a part of I tell people, we have to organize all the way to the ballot box.
I got you.
All the way to the ballot.
How you doing it, man? I got this one. Are you proud of yourself? I know. From where you come from Indian Town to the educational heights that you've reached. Did your dad see this? Is he still alive?
No, I lost my father about 6 years ago. My mother's still alive.
Yes. But your dad saw you get the degrees and stuff like that?
Yeah, I have a doctorate of ministry and transformative leadership from Colgate Rochester Crozier Divinity School. Those names should read Colgate.
Yeah.
Crozier for Kingwood, Rochester where the social gospel started, in Rochester, New York. And and my bachelor's in psychology from the school in North Carolina. My master's started out at New York Seminary and it changed to Florida Center for Theological Studies. I think that I appreciate it because the people whom I served at my local parish, they were behind the further training, behind what we were doing. I just have to have some good people in my life like you who said, hey, you're in this spot, be trained. Don't forget the pain. Don't forget the pathos of the community. Don't just be on Sunday morning and go home and do nothing.
Right.
Don't forget that. But I always feel that I always have a desire and wish I could have done more. Wish I could have started earlier to give back. I wish that, that could have happened in my life. I appreciate what I am, but if I had to do it over again, I'll probably do it more intensity, intentionality.
God put his hand on your shoulder. You know this.
Yeah.
God put his hand on your shoulder. And so you happy. You wake up every day. You happy guy, I'm sure, at this point. Other than the fights that you have. Other than that. Because you can find solace. You can find peace of mind somewhere along the way, right?
It's a double entendre. I can find peace of mind, but when I see people hurting, it hurts me. When the pain of the people, the pain of the community become your pain, and especially in the work that I do as both a clergy and an organizer.
Yeah, I got you.
People pay. I wear the pain of the people. When I see people that's homeless and hungry, and I know that we send all these funds, are still playing called millions of dollars, and I see all of that. It got people around here can't eat, no place to stay. That bothers me.
I got you.
It brings tears to my eyes at times. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Last one. Down in your hometown, is there a big reunion? Is there a tourist thing? Is this something down there that I can come to and see what you saw? And I know the place is still there, but is there a festival or something like that the people can come to?
We usually have Faith in Florida. We especially Miami, Dade County. Juneteenth celebration.
Yeah, there you
go. Like that. Souls to the Poles was a big thing, but we could definitely identify something. So many things going on. I have to find the right vignette.
Yeah.
Vignette for you to get into, to get into,
to
get you down here. We can make that happen though, yes.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is there a big family reunion that y'all have in your town where everybody comes home one weekend?
There's that little Indian town. We had it over there about 3 or 4 weeks ago. What was that thing? I
Really?
didn't go, but what's that thing called? The Swamp Fest. That's what it called. It's
Oh,
called the
really?
Swamp Fest. Yeah. You don't know about this though. Bring out the sows, the pig feed. We bring out the fish, the oxtails, and tell the history and and actually we let the other boys come, other fellows come too. The rodeos and things like that come
Oh,
out. And
really?
yeah,
It's the
yeah.
same time every year, pretty much the
Same
same.
time every each year. Yes,
And it's in Indian Town, or where is it?
that's in Indian Town. Yes,
Oh, I got to keep an eye on that. I'd love to come to something
called the
like that.
Swamp Fest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to come to
And
something
then
like
different little cities, they have their own little things that they be doing in
that.
county.
Yeah,
But in the town, that's growing to be pretty big, especially when you've been forgotten all of these years and something like that happens. You want to go
yeah,
back to it.
yeah. No, I could dig that. Okay, as we close, what's the name of your church? Did you tell us that?
St. James Church.
And what denomination is it?
We this is what we do because we just put a Baptist ministry. It's Baptist. We try to use St. James Church, but we use St. James Baptist Church. We use the church and put ministry down
I
there.
got you. I got you. I got you.
Because we
Um,
try to be, we don't want to, push back or anything like that.
yeah. I thank you so very much for coming. Oh, how about this? Is there a question that I have not asked you?
No, you're thorough. You brought
I,
back you make me really think about things and sometimes we have to get each other in our work to think at the process to
yeah.
put
Okay.
Colette West said institutions must be critiqued internally and externally. And I believe in critiquing those institutions, even myself, externally and internally.
Yeah,
And
I
you
got you.
allowed me to critique the work, critique what is happening,
I got you.
and this dialogue did that. My
Okay.
question for you: what drives you for this? What gets you to do what you do?
That's a good one. What happened was I wrote that book in 2019, and then the pandemic hit in 2020. And all my little book signings and things were canceled. And someone had suggested to me, why don't I go digital, go streaming, and go and have my own show? And I just said, all right, I'm gonna do it. And I've always, it's funny, like asking questions. I think I got a little knack for that. And I came up with the word strong inspirations immediately, didn't have to second guess it. And then I just started finding people somehow, looking them up, college professors. I hear stories of people telling it. And this is my calling. This is my way to, and I think I might do it. It's my way, the way I do it, but I might do it different than you would do it if you were on CNN and SBC or whatever, because I try to ask questions that, get to the heart of it.
You have a
And I
dialogue.
want people to hear it.
You have a dialogue type of conversation.
Right. Oh, no question, no question. And I want people to hear the inside scoop. And this is my way to, make get the word out.
I have one request from you. When you take your time, find a couple of sources that have been instrumental in formulating your identity, who you are, what you do, and suggest those writings and those book that material to me so I can absorb them, please.
All right. All right.
Okay.
I did.
I appreciate that.
I did. Okay, everybody, this is Strong Inspirations. Hit the subscribe button on this because I want you to. And you, my friends, and you, my family. And ain't nothing you can do about it. You sitting there watching me, sit down and do that. That's free. Hit the like button on this video. You felt the love from this gentleman. There's no question about it. I did. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up, so on and so forth, and tell somebody about Strong Inspirations. Don't keep it to yourself, my friends. Don't be acting like I don't want nobody else to know. And this is my little own secret. I'm doing this for the masses of folk around the world. And as you know, I got videos from around the world on this show, from Africa and South America and so on, Europe, so on and so forth. And to you, what I'd like for you to do is close us out in a prayer, please.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share with you on your show. Eternal One, we come before your presence now. We give you thanks, we give you glory, we give you honor. Now we ask, oh Father, that you'll be with us, watch over our people. And oh God, give us the things, the behavior, the actions, the organizing that would truly allow us to move into and bring the beloved community into reality. And also we ask your blessings upon this production, this show, Mr. Anthony, and all that he does. Continue to put to him the success that you have already ordered in everything that he does. It's in your name that we pray, we ask it all. Amen.
Amen. To you, I say this, and I mean this with all sincerity. From the top to the bottom of my heart, I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love what you're doing. Somehow, you grew up in that town. You were destined to be there. You saw things that other people don't see. You did things. You know how to harvest and farm and pick cotton, not cotton, but pick vegetables and beans, and you do it better than anybody else can do it. You do it more efficiently, and that allows us and you and other people to eat good, nourishing food. And then all those experiences got you to where you are today. And you took the mantle from when you sat there and read those encyclopedias, that you took that to where the highest heights. So you reading them books on the highest levels. You wrote that paper on the highest level. And you did all this from them humble beginnings. And to your parents and your dad and your mom who sat you down, and you were smart enough to listen to what they said. You took it in. You didn't embarrass them. You said, I'm gonna do what you suggest, because what you suggested, and they did it out of love. You felt that. You knew it was right. And you went and got that education. And now you are a huge success on various fronts. And you're leading people for them to be successful and to deal with their lives. It's a beautiful thing. I am excited that you've come on my show and that I have met you in this form, and I hope to meet you in person. I want to shake your hand and let that vibe fall through me for sure. I appreciate it. I'll be in touch.
Thank you so much for having me.
Got it.